Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Spiritually Speaking. Today, I am Dee, and today I have the beautiful Sam with me, and we are going to chat about space clearing and other things. So, thank you, Sam, for being my guest today. I appreciate having you here.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So, you do space clearing. That's one of the main things you do, correct?
Yes, that's right.
I would love for you to tell us about that because not everybody may understand what that means.
Okay, so basically, space clearing is removing the negative energy from properties. So if you think that everything is energy, we're all energy, this chairs we're sitting on are energy, and our houses, our homes are energy as well. So it's removing the memory. I believe that a house has a memory like a person. So it's an energy imprint from anything that happens. So if you've got a piece of clay, the biggest hand is going to create the biggest imprint. So if you have a really happy event in a property, then that's going to hold the biggest imprint. If you have a really negative um, experience in a property, that's going to leave a big imprint, which then affects our lives. We've all had times when we've walked into property and we just, for no reason, don't feel comfortable. We don't like it. We're picking up on the energy. And likewise, when it's you feel really comfortable for no reason. So what space clearing does is remove the uncomfortable and the negative and enhance the positive, which is really, I feel, important at this time because we're surrounded by so much negativity. The more negativity we can remove, the better it is for humanity.
I definitely agree with that 100%. We do have a lot of that. We have a lot of good floating around as well, but the negative seems to be louder. So my
Yeah.
question is the energy that you're talking about removing from these properties and buildings and things like that, is it residual energy or is it active energy? Can you explain
Both.
that and what the difference is for people who may not know?
Yeah. So basically, residual energy would be like the memory. So if there's been a traumatic event in the property, and it could even be on the land. I have space cleared property and come across an entity, a spirit man, who was actually a caveman. He didn't have any language. And I was like, whoa, hang on a minute. I've not seen this before. So it can be both, or it can just be a memory. So as we remember things, we get flashbacks in our mind. Well, property replays those too and can have a negative or positive effect on us. So it is both.
That's so interesting. So, would you care to share with us how you got started on this journey of space clearing?
Yeah. Okay. So I always fascinated by buildings, even as a small child. I could see the auras of buildings, although it was always white, but I could see the auras. And then I happened into a state agency. Um, Well, yeah, I did. It wasn't my plan, but it was the plan. And I was always able to sell the properties that no one else could. And because I've always had a connection with the spirit world, in fact, as a child, I lived more in the spirit world and was terrified of people. Um, if I came across spirit people while I was working as an estate agent, I'd send them to the light, which again helped to sell the properties. Then roll on a few years, I got married, I had two kids, we moved house, and I knew there was no spirits in the house, but there was a really dark, heavy feeling. And I was speaking to a spiritual friend, and she said, well, you want to space clear it? I'm like, what space clearing? I had no clue what it was. So I set about, I think I had incense and clapping, that was it. And I space cleared my house and I excitingly told her all of the history of the house when I'd finished. And she's like, you do realize that not everyone gets all the history of the house? I had no clue because I didn't even know what space clearing was till she told me. So after that point, I space cleared all our houses that we lived in and for friends and family. And if someone would be complaining about a bad smell, I'd go, oh, I'll come and space clear. And then the smell would leave, normally attached with a spirit. not a residual. And then during lockdown, I had suddenly found I had a lot of time. I'm a cook as well. And I'd been working in bars here in Spain and everything locked down. So all the bars were shut. I had no work. So I took the time and used it to study oracle card reading with Carl Gray.
Hmm.
And I just put on I did about 500 readings for free. And then people wanted to pay me. I was like, hang on a minute. I could feed my family doing this.
Yes.
And so I set up a website and I put space clearing on it, thinking it would be a minor element to what I do because I live in rural Spain. You have to be either spiritually minded or have a problem if you want to connect to me. So I thought it was going to be a minor thing. And then a friend of mine who I'd physically space cleared in person for contacted me and said, can you do space clearing from a floor plan and an address? Because I've got this rental property. It was my grandparents' home. It needs maintenance work doing urgently, and the tenants will not let me in. And I said, I have no clue, but I'll give it a go. And as I sat drawing the plan out, I got all of this historic information, including her grandparents' names. And I was like, okay, I could probably do this then. And within 24 hours, the tenants had allowed her into the property and allowed the maintenance to start happening. So I was like, okay. And the results are good as well. So now, now I primarily work for people who are English speaking. I haven't done any properties in the States as of yet, but Spain, all over Spain, Spanish islands, and England. I work with various estate agents in Spain and in the UK because also if a property is well priced but not selling, it can be a residual problem. It can be something that's holding them back. And it could be that the people don't really want to move. That can be one of the reasons. They have to move or they need a bigger house, but they've been so happy there, they don't really want to let it go.
Yeah.
And there's a whole load of reasons why a property won't sell if it's at the right price. And space clearing lets go of all of that, good and bad. It
Mm.
gets rid of all of those cords that are tying people to their properties. And properties normally then start to fly.
Oh, that's amazing. I can imagine that being a very valuable tool for real estate agents.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
That's incredible. So you said that when you first did your own space clearing the very first time, you had incense and clapping. So what is it that you actually do to clear these energies and cut these cords from these places so that they can be freer?
Yeah. So now it's evolved a lot, but anyone can do it to whatever level. The main thing is intention and not being scared. Most people, it's my understanding, don't get all the historic information that I do, but that's fine. They don't need to clear the energy. They don't need to see or feel anything. If you start with just clapping and go around the walls of your house clapping, you can hear the difference. You can
Mm,
physically, and you don't have to be spiritually minded at all. Just start clapping and you will hear the change in the energy.
wow.
And and so I always start with a prayer to bring in what information I need to have from the property and for clearing the energy. So I always set that intention with a prayer. And then I set up an altar. It's not really an altar. I just put my stuff in one place, right? um, but so I have incense on there, candle on there, crystals, because I love crystals, um, sage, Palo Santo, bells, and a singing bowl. And
Mm,
then I start with clapping and I go around the whole room. And I could start in the center of the house, it could be in the entrance, or it could be in a room. I just go where it feels right
hmm.
to set my stuff up. And then I go room to room, starting with clapping, Then I do sage and Palo Santo, and that's when I tend to get the most information.
Mm,
And then I use bells, and I finish with the singing bowl because it just smooths the energy nicely and calms everything down. And then I finish with a prayer, thanking um, the angels and guides for clearing the energy of this space. And if someone's trying to sell their property, then I ask for the perfect buyer to come in at the perfect price and for them to be healthy, happy, and abundant in the home. If someone's come to me because they want to know the history of the property, then I program the house to be healthy, happy, and abundant. That's an always. Um, and if there's a problem with the tenant, I ask for that to be resolved. If there's a problem with the maintenance company, I ask for that to be resolved. So depending why someone's come to me, depends what I program the house for.
that is amazing. It's so beautiful. I love it so much. And I love that you get the history because what's so fascinating to me is how each of us that are in the spiritual space, we have, and we're all spiritual. We all have
Yeah.
these capabilities. We can all do it. It's just a
Oh,
matter of
absolutely.
connecting with that part of ourselves. But I love how differently it manifests in each of us. Like I love that you get the history of the house because that's absolutely incredible. And I'm sure that that's a valuable tool for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it also shows people that I'm not just saying I'm doing it.
Mhm.
Right. So I'm not just going,
Right.
oh yeah, give me your money, send me a plan. Oh yeah, I've done it now. Right.
Right.
Sometimes I don't get any information, but that is very rare. And the times I don't get any information, the results are almost immediate. So it's like, okay, so I may not have got the history of this time, but the results are there. So it's fine. But yeah, absolutely. Anyone can do this. And I believe that people should. It's really important to have clean energy in your house. If you've got problems sleeping, space clear your bedroom. You
Mhm.
know, it's really, and anyone can do it. It's just that people don't know about it.
Well, and there's that fear element. You mentioned that earlier, that it was very
Yeah.
important not to have the fear. So could you speak around that a little more?
Yeah. If you're scared of what you're going to see, then what you're going to see is things that will scare you.
Right.
Okay, so in the spirit world, you have spirits that are earthbound, and they're normally the troublesome ones. And then you have loved ones that come in. Now, we want our loved ones to come back. They're not stuck here. They can go to other realms and I believe even maybe have a physical body again and still visit us.
Yes.
Um, so we want to keep those. We don't want to send our loved ones away, right?
Right.
But we don't want to see the things that are scary or the spirits that have got, because I believe, well, in my experience actually, that spirits are earthbound for a number of reasons. One, they don't know they're dead. So they've died suddenly and they're like, I don't really know what's going on. So I'm just going to play out like I was alive because they just don't understand what's going on. They were not very nice in this lifetime. And so they don't want to let go of that control. That they're the most troublesome spirits that we come across. And what's the other one? So, and there's one more which is escaping me for now.
It'll come back
uh,
to you.
it'll come back in a second. Um, people that's it. Sorry. So people that have died traumatically and
Mm,
very quickly. So people that have been murdered can be stuck because again, they don't really understand why they're not alive anymore. They're a bit different from the ones that don't know they're dead because they do tend to know they're dead, but they don't just can't really, what do I do now? Sort of situation. So, yeah, so that can scare people, but the most important thing is to protect your energy before you do it. And you can go on my website, there's a free meditation there to protect your energy. And I really suggest that anyone who wants to space clear their own house goes to my website and does the protection meditation, or anyone else's. There's loads on YouTube um, before they start.
mhm.
And then you've got nothing to be scared of because you have the 100% confidence that nothing is going to get to me because I'm protected.
Right. Right. So do you have a favorite story of clearing a space?
Oh, I've got so many. Uh, yeah, I think the first one by a plan was really cool because it was a really happy house. And her grandparents showed themselves like Toby jugs. Do you know the old-fashioned English Toby jugs? So
Mm-mm.
it's a jug that's got a face on it.
Okay.
I think it was about the 1500s, they started making these Toby jugs, and they're basically caricature jugs. And I kept seeing these, and it was a male and a female, and then I got names, so that was really cool. And then I could see all the family parties they had in the front room. And
Wow.
it was really pretty. And it was really lovely. I have to say, I lingered there a bit. I was enjoying it. So that was one of the really positive ones. And then probably the not it wasn't really scary, but it was quite out there. Was one of the first ones I did in person when I started doing it as a business. And this was a very dark house. There had been an awful lot of negative things, the worst imaginable things that happened in this house. And there was two earthbound spirits there. And one of them actually pulled my face down and changed my features. My client was like, and I was like, yeah, this is a bit odd.
Yeah.
um, because it never happened before, but I could see all of my angels around me. And so I wasn't frightened. It was just like, oh, okay, this is different. This is a bit strange. And
Ah,
you're definitely going to the light because you're not staying in. Um, and then later on when I was doing the space clearing, it was my client was like, you're shining. Your eyes are like light lasers coming out. And so that was really cool because she got to see from one extreme to the other extreme. And we space cleared a different area of the house, and it would have been physically dark. And she was like, it's like someone switched the light on. And it was. The physical change was visible. And so, yeah, that was really cool.
that is really cool. And she got to see the light lasers coming out of your eyes. So now is she
Yeah.
a spiritual person too, or not so much?
She'd come to me for an oracle card reading. So she was spiritually aware, but
Hmm.
not actively doing spiritual things.
I see. And for her to be able to see that, that is really incredible. Because it's always fun when you're in the spiritual space and you know you're experiencing these things. But how cool when someone else gets to
Yeah,
see that manifestation in you.
yeah.
That's
And
incredible.
even better, she messaged me a couple of weeks after I'd done it, and she'd been struggling to lose weight since she moved into the house. And the weight just dropped off her since space clearing. She
Wow.
didn't change her diet. The house was literally weighing her down.
Holy cow.
I know.
Now, were you able to discern what about the house was causing that? Because that's a really interesting effect.
Yeah, there was two very negative spirits. I mean, the worst of humanity. And they were really putting the whole building into this dark cloud. And it was removing them that changed everything, I believe. But not only that, because of the horrific things that had taken place in the house, removing that energy. So I think it was both the residual energy and these earthbound spirits that were causing the problem. I think it was a mixture of both.
Wow. And so how long had she lived there before she asked you to clear the space?
I think she'd been there about 3 years before she happened to cross me.
Wow. And
And
now it's
it was totally by accident. She'd booked a card reading and she was telling me about her house. And I said about space clearing. She's like, when can you come? So,
That is so cool. I feel like everybody's going to want their house and space cleared after they listen to this video. This is so incredible. So, has there ever been a space that you've gone into or done energetically over distance that you've felt more uncomfortable or didn't feel like you were able to handle on your own?
Uh, no, there was one that I was very uncomfortable with, and that was a property in one of the Spanish islands, Mallorca, I think it was. And I never thought there was demonic stuff out there. That was not my belief until I space cleared this property. It was like, okay, I was wrong then.
Oh, wow.
And it was literally this whole.
Hmm. Hi, everyone. We just had a little bit of a glitch there, which is really interesting that Sam's power went out when we were talking about what we were talking about, which is that you felt like you didn't believe in demonic entities until you encountered this one property. So I would love for you to continue your story.
Yeah, sorry about that. You
That's
can't make
okay.
this stuff up, can you? So yeah, I was space clearing from a floor plan. And as I was doing it, I mean, it's a very beautiful house. Um, Yet the energy was so dark. It was really heavy. And it was almost like there was a portal to the devil. And all
Mm,
of these demonic things were coming up. And it was like, oh, I don't believe in this. What's going on here? And it was so strong, I had to actually leave my office a couple of times before I could deal with it all.
wow.
And so I have, and also I have gone back and done it because there's loads of layers. But what I did the first time was psychically put a metal lid on top of the portal so nothing demonic could get back out again. And that seems to have worked. Now it's just the residual, but because it was so dark and so demonic, and also quite a lot of bodies buried in the garden, um, I have gone back and redone that property a number of times to get rid of that stuff. But the owner who's trying to sell it, it's got legal issues as well. It's a whole mess. But I said to him, the people who would live there would have personality changes, suffer from depression, greed. And he was like, yep, that's exactly what happened to the people that were living there. So he was able to confirm that not the demonic stuff, but that people's personalities changed hugely by being in that space.
Wow. That's incredible. So were you able to become aware of what caused that portal to open? Because portals aren't really that common, in my understanding. Most properties like
This
have residual energy or spirits attached, but not portals that are wide open.
this is this is the only one I've ever come across. So I would agree with that.
Yeah.
um, Why it opened? Well, when I researched, it looks like there is a long history because because I was shown people going missing
Mm,
in the 1920s. I was like, oh, well, I'll Google research that afterwards. And I couldn't find anything. But what I did find was the whole island has a history of dark magic, the dark arts. In fact, some of the fiestas there still celebrate them.
wow.
So I didn't know any of that. So although I couldn't find what I was actually looking for, it did shed a bit of light on why there would be a portal there.
Mm, yeah. So maybe there was someone that lived in that house previously that was dabbling and opened a portal that they didn't mean to
Yeah.
open, or maybe they did. I don't know. Some
No,
people
I
really get into that.
think,
Right.
yeah, I think it was historic. It wasn't the actual building that was there. It was the original building because I saw different types of walls. Although some of the original walls were in this property, that's what I was shown. But yeah, we're talking ancient. well, not ancient, old. We're talking like 1800s-ish that this was opened, and it was intentional for sure.
Wow. That's so crazy. I mean, it just like I've always been able to see spirit, and I've talked to other people. Actually, one of them was my own child because he got into this pretty heavy when he was younger, and he and some friends of his would go to this one place in the woods that was known to be very active with spirits and stuff like that, and they would antagonize them. And I'm like, you need to stop that. Like, it's one thing to go into a place and do what you do, where you're clearing things out but to go into a space where you're antagonizing that or inviting that energy in, it is just mind boggling to me.
Yeah,
I don't understand why anyone would do that.
no, I'm totally with you. My daughter lives in a shared flat, and some of her flatmates have been dabbling with Ouija boards. Now, I've never really got why you need that. That's a
Yeah.
whole different thing. So my daughter obviously can't control the actions of others. So what we do is we space clear it regularly. I space clear it remotely from here. I always send her home armed with sage and Palo Santo
Yes.
to, and I have put like a really big bubble of protection around the whole area so
Mm,
that even if they are calling in, they can't get what they're looking for in the hope that they're stopped.
yeah. I'm so grateful that my son finally did stop doing that kind of stuff because it's so dangerous. I mean,
Yeah,
we don't, like it does exist. Like you said, you didn't believe in it until you encountered this one house and then you realized it brought it home to you really quickly and impactfully. It does exist. So it's just
yeah. From
really important.
where I was stood before was there is spirits that are evil,
Mm,
right? But spirits aren't inherently evil because people aren't inherently evil. And then when I came across this property, it was like, these aren't spirits. They're different. And the energy is really different. And it is the only word to describe it is demonic. It's
yeah.
not like, and I've come across some really evil spirits, but this was different, totally different feel about it. I can't really explain anymore, but it was a very clear difference.
Yeah, the English language just unfortunately doesn't cover all of the things. Sometimes it's very limiting. So
Yeah,
I understand what you mean about the different feeling of it, but not being able to put it into words. It's a knowing. It's
yeah,
absolutely a knowing. And then being able to trust yourself in that knowing is what helped you, I'm sure, to be able to deal with the situation and safely.
yeah, yeah. And also because my work, I work with the angels. In fact, they work through me rather than me work with them. Um, I always know that they work for the highest good. I'm working for the highest good. Everything I do is for the greatest good of all. So I know that I'm safe.
Yeah.
I have 100% confidence that they're not going to put me in a position that I can't cope with.
Right. And they're there, beside you.
Yeah,
You have your team. Like I know I do when I'm doing anything like that. And my team is just right there. I feel them. I feel them come in like it just like surround me. It's almost like a big hug, it's
yeah,
just amazing.
yeah. And when things get a bit hairy, it's almost like they're there with these great big white, bright lights of armor around me. It's like nothing can get in.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how terrible what I'm seeing is, I know I'm okay.
Right. That's a beautiful thing too. I love that because I feel like one of the main messages I love to get out there with this podcast is the fact that spirituality looks different for all of us and that
Yeah.
there's no need to be afraid. So I love that you're delivering that message so impactfully today because it's to me it's a really important aspect of being in the spiritual space.
Yeah. Yeah, the trust, the 100% trust you're okay is really important when you're space clearing. Really important. And we are all protected. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter whether you read cards or you do any other spiritual work or you do none. You're still protected.
Yeah.
And you need no experience to space clear.
Just knowing that you're safe and not to be
That's
afraid,
yeah,
and like you said, you do have that meditation to help people with
yeah,
that aspect of it. So that's awesome. Do you have any other stories you'd like to share or
yeah. So I've had the privilege of space clearing two palaces
wow.
locally to me, one of which is now a hotel. And I came across my first gatekeeper spirit there, which, and Rosa is really lovely. And she told me quite emphatically that she's going nowhere. Her job is to sit in the foyer of the hotel and make sure everyone's safe. And she can leave if she wants, but she told me she's not going to. So, but what's
I love a
really,
woman who knows her own mind, right?
yeah. So it turns out she was talking to me. She called herself Rose, and I'm like, why are you telling me your name is Rose? You're Spanish? And she's like, well, because you're English. So in spirit, they language isn't a problem. But I've never had a spirit anglicized their name before. So that was strange to start with. And then I was trying to work out what her connection was to this place. And it's actually the owner. Now, the owner's English. Well, one of the owners is English. And she'd seen this lady and always spoken to her. And Rosa told me she won't know who I am. But when she died, she saw what she was doing with this magnificent building and she really loved the energy of this lady. So she decided she'd be the gatekeeper.
That's amazing.
And another part of the hotel, there's the hotel, and then there's an apartment next to it. And in there is a escape tunnel. Because where I live in Spain, there was a lot of problems during the Civil War and
Mm.
people trying to escape. And that was that was quite harrowing because when we got to space clear that area, there I saw the bodies lining up. But I was told it was a really important tunnel for getting people out, and that over 100 people escaped through it.
Wow.
So yeah, that's a pretty fascinating building to do.
That is fascinating. That is beautiful. So, have there been reports? I'm just curious of people coming into that hotel in the foyer area that feel her energy, or
Yeah,
maybe feel
and
like they see her.
it's encouraged. Both the owners always speak to her when they walk in.
Oh,
As do other staff members. And I programmed every bedroom and every bed to be the best night's sleep ever. And most of the guests report to the owner it was the best night's sleep ever.
that's amazing. I love that.
Yeah, so it's really cool.
That is cool. And what about the other castle?
So the other palace was a strange one because I started getting information before I know both of those I did in person because they're not far from me. I started getting information about it the night before. So it's like, okay, I'm not working yet. Can I go to sleep, please? And that one hadn't had such a dark history as the first one. There wasn't an escape tunnel. It was a very, very well-to-do property in its day. Now it's half of it's like a blank canvas. So it would make an amazing restaurant gallery. It's huge. I had to do it in two stints because it was so big. Um, but what I saw was how it used to be, which was just stunning, brilliant reading room. It's got a swimming pool out the back, a banana tree, which is the first one I've ever seen in Spain, which still have fruit on it. And but I got this big dog, and it was like a cartoon dog. It was bigger than me. It was really strange, literally like a rabied cartoon dog going for me, which was quite strange. But it was showing me it like that. It showed me like that to say I'm protecting it, and I'm still protecting it.
Mm. Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Is that the first
It's
time you've ever had a cartoon
yeah.
manifestation like that?
Yeah, I mean, quite often when I'm doing readings for people, I get shown washing machines if there's like a lot going on in their mind.
Oh, yeah.
Then my spirit guides show me a washing machine going round and round and round. But I hadn't seen anything like that before. So it's like, it's interesting how they don't always show you as it was, but they show you how you will understand it.
Yeah. But that was a protective spirit of the palace.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Like a guard dog energy.
yeah. It really
That's
was a guard dog energy.
yeah, that's really cool. And did it startle you that it kind of came at you like that?
No, because when I'm space clearing, it's just like expect anything. It's like anything can happen, and really, you just have to go, okay, whatever's gonna come is gonna come, and whatever happens, happens, and just, yeah, no, nothing much. It surprises me, but it doesn't startle me.
Gotcha. Yeah, that would be a very surprising thing to see like that. And
Yeah,
but I love the message though. That's really cool.
yeah. And I love how the fact that they do use things that you'll understand.
Yes. Yeah, that's really beautiful. And do you ever have to ask for an alternate interpretation for you to be able to understand it, or is it always clear to you?
When I'm space clearing, it's normally clear. I don't normally have to go, okay, what does that mean? When I'm oracle card readings, I sometimes doesn't make any sense to me, and I have to go, okay, can you tell me what that means? Well, that doesn't fit with the rest. That doesn't fit with this person at all. Now, tell me why. And then they do, or I pull another card, and it's like, oh, okay, that's what it is. But when I'm space clearing, it tends to be quite even, if you know what I mean, by it's self-explanatory. So
Yeah,
there's not much open for interpretation there.
that's okay. That's really good. And you said you do the readings in person, as you've said that some areas have been close to you and you were able to do that, but you also do them over distance.
Yeah,
And the results are the same, whether you're in person or it is over distance. Is that not correct?
yeah, yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Yeah, so distance really is no issue.
Yeah.
I don't get quite as much detail. I still get a lot of detail, but not quite as much as I do when I'm in person.
Hmm.
But the results are the same. The
Yeah.
results are the same.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Right.
It's so incredible. Like I just want to go clear my house after we get off here. Not that I don't sometimes, but I've never done it in the way that you described. So I'd love to do that. And I have been having issues sleeping. So when you said that about the sleeping, I was like, oh, I am totally doing this before I go to bed tonight.
Yeah, definitely do.
I'm going
Definitely
to.
do. And call in the angels and ask them for the best night's sleep.
Yeah, I'm
Of course,
definitely.
sometimes there's other reasons we don't sleep if there's a lot on our mind and things like that.
Yeah.
But if you're not particularly worried about stuff and just struggling to sleep for no apparent reason, then space clearing will help.
Yeah. Do you not feel like it would help to ease those thoughts as well, though?
It will, but it possibly won't solve the issue. I space cleared a house for a woman who she just happened across my website because she was desperate to sleep. So the fact she wasn't sleeping was causing her more stress, which was causing more problems sleeping. But it turns out that the property, when I space cleared it, she was just, they'd moved in, and the plan was they'd be there 6 months, buy their forever home and move out. And this was 18 months after. So the problem was, All her stuff was in boxes. She didn't feel at home. They couldn't find their forever home. Everything kept going wrong with the properties they were trying to buy. Oh, excuse me. And I space cleared it, and also it was on the market. So I space cleared it for them all to be happy. But it still didn't solve her sleep issue. So I was like, okay, I'm not happy with that. Right? That for me, that's not good enough. And so I did a card reading for her as well. And we got to the root of the problem. And I said, the problem will resolve as soon as you move. She's now moved and it's resolved.
That's
In
awesome.
fact, as soon as they found their forever home, it resolved.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. It's so
So,
interesting how us humans are reactive to certain things, that we
yeah,
really feel like we need to have in place. And we
yeah,
know that they're meant to be in place. That's what's so incredible.
yeah,
Success looks different for everyone, and their forever home was a piece of that success for them.
yeah,
And I love how you mentioned earlier, and I'm going to go back a little bit in our conversation to where you said you ask for abundance in all ways for that
yeah,
house, because a lot of times when we think of abundance, we think money, and that's
yeah.
all we think about. And there's so
But
many other different types of abundance. So I love that you mentioned that, and I'd love for you to elaborate on that.
yeah, because finance is obviously a form of abundance,
Yes.
but abundance can be happiness, love, family, food, it can be material, but it can also be more than that. And happiness, being abundant in happiness, I mean, who else? You don't need more than that.
Right. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So I just felt like we needed to go back to that for a minute because it's such an important thing. I listened to one lady named Lisa Nichols, and I don't know if she coined the phrase, but she calls it 360 abundance, where it's abundance in all the areas
Yeah.
that we have in our lives. I mean, truly.
Yeah, and it's important. And why shouldn't we have abundance in every area, in every aspect of our lives?
Yeah.
That is our purpose, isn't it? To be happy. That's the main purpose, not only to learn as a human being, but to be happy. That is our main purpose, to experience the emotion of being happy.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. It's beautiful. So, Sam, if people would love to work with you, be that through a reading, a card reading, or a space clearing, could you tell them how they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can go to my website and there's free meditations on there. They're under blogs, but they are there for free. And that's samangelguide.com. And you can find me on Facebook and Instagram, Sam Angel Guide. And they're the best ways to contact me, really.
Awesome. I love that
And
so much. And I'll drop your links in the description box below the video so people can find you with a click. I
yeah.
have loved this conversation so much. You're so inspiring. Your energy is so incredible. I love it. I love you. You're beautiful. And what you're doing is absolutely beautiful as well.
And if you want to know more about some of the properties and the spirits that I've come across, then I've got a new book out that's on pre-order, Echoes Within Walls, and it's available from any bookshop worldwide and on all digital platforms. And it's up on Amazon now, pre-order,
Nice. And that will be out when exactly?
the 12th of March.
The 12th of March. And that will be, this episode will have dropped by then. So people will be able to go straight there and order it. So that's going to be awesome. I love that
Fab.
because you needed to write a book.
I did. I did. And my husband's like, all right, so when are you writing the next one? I said, okay, can I just breathe a minute?
You're like, as soon as my guides tell me to put the pen to paper.
So it's when they won't let me sleep at night until I've written it, is what tends to happen.
There you go. Well, thank you, Sam, for being my guest today. I appreciate you
Thank
so
you.
much. This has been amazing. And thank you, everyone, for joining us on another episode of Spiritually Speaking. Please like, share, and subscribe because I know everyone needs to hear this message today about space clearing. If you don't want to do it on your own, if you're not comfortable with that, get in touch with Sam. She can help you out with that. Otherwise, you can see what you can do with it yourself. Thank you all. And I love you all, and I'll see you on the next one.